I'm late. I'm late for a very important date. And here I am with High Peak Community Arts.
Welcome to Buxton, where High Peak Community Arts are having a tea party to celebrate 40 years.
I first got involved with High Peak Community Arts when I was working part-time at New Mills Youth Centre in 1979, when High Peak Community Arts was first established. I'm working with Jerry Moriarty and Kath Harvey. I remember the first time I got involved was New Mills Carnival. Suitcase Circus, that's what it was called, Suitcase Circus. And it was just an old battered brown, really old-fashioned suitcase.
And we'd teach them to stilt walk, and we'd teach them to unicycle and to juggle, and then we get all the parents involved doing things like making costumes and making the stilts and helping to put it all together, and then we do a big circus at the end of the project.
So one of our participants in Project Earth, Sophie, when we started looking at the archive and looking at all the old photographs, Sophie saw the Suitcase Circus photos, and she then realised that she was in that project when she was 5 years old. She just knew she'd done, had fun doing circus in the holidays.
And then we did some really big community plays.
Writing workshops to generate scripts for performances that involved young people, people who worked at the centre, the caretaker.
The first one we did was called Kick One and They All Limp, and that was in New Mills. It's about people sticking up for each other, if you like.
They were so inclusive, they involved everybody who wanted to be involved, and people had never done anything, young people had never done anything like that before were involved.
I was involved in 1983. The idea was it was a project involving two communities between Bugsworth and Chinley. We hinged the bottom of the masts, and as we approached the bridge, gracefully the sails were lowered, the truck and the ship went underneath the bridge, and as we came out the other side, the masts were raised gracefully again, and onward we went to Chinley.
So good.
And then there was Tin Hats and Telegrams. That was a bigger project that involved a lot of many community elements. And that took place at the town hall.
I think if I had my time again, I might want to do more acting. So obviously Tin Hats and Telegrams just sort of fell right into my lap, really.
Dried egg and dried milk. And have you tried that new cooking fat? Terrible. Your pastry snacks. And oranges. Ooh, oranges.
Well, I think I've got this creative streak in me, really, that doesn't have many outlets.
You can see the swastika on the wing. Oh my God, it's coming right over the top of us. Bloody hell, it's got doors around it. Get out! It's one road for the workers and another for the boss.
I shall remember that day forever. That was 1989. We moved in the August, and 6 months later got a letter saying I was going to be compulsory purchase. The number of houses that were going to be demolished were about 35, from the top chip shop on Albion Road up to Worksmore Road. All those houses were going. The top of Worksmore Road were all going. The houses facing the wreck, the whole of Woodside Street would be gone, except one house, which was mine.
This is all to do with this brown route.
And there was going to be a two-lane motorway coming into a massive roundabout.
It'll be hard for me grandma.
So we decided to get a campaign together to fight this route. And that's when High Peak Community Arts came in and started working with people. We organised walks up the valley. We did a video which I did the voiceover for. I did an interview with local television.
It was the 600th anniversary of New Mills. So we got all the different youth groups in the town involved, and we created a promenade performance where the audience went all through the Tors, the big ravine we have here, to see different groups perform.
We made an enormous oil monster from bin bags and just canes. It was really cheap, and it was wonderful because we were doing something in the community, and people were walking past from the community, and they were seeing people with enhanced needs doing something worthwhile and being part of what was going on.
It was a 10-week writing course. Me with no imagination, we were all very reticent, hadn't written before. Alison, who ran the group, she used such a clever way of getting us all to participate. She managed to produce trigger quotes or trigger ideas. My personal life, politics, quite a range of things, and produce narratives and poetry. In the end, we were able to produce the book, Me with No Imagination.
We did an AIDS awareness project that linked in with the International Names project, where people made large quilt panels in remembrance of people that had died from AIDS. But it was quite controversial in as much as we applied to High Peak Borough Council for some funding, and they turned us down. One of the councillors who turned us down said that he thought people who had lost people to cancer would be angry if people who died of AIDS were commemorated in this way. So we made the quilts, but then we also did a sort of youth project on AIDS awareness where we made a giant board game called Play It Safe, and that was actually teaching and working with young people in different youth clubs about, AIDS awareness and safety.
I came to be a community arts worker in, I think, 1994. I came and did Millie, the Giant Rambler, and we did quarries and lorries, and I did lots of drama work and music work.
So I remember going to a quarry and people talking about the wildflowers in the quarry, and as I say, the rewilding that had gone on once the quarry had ceased being a quarry. I have very happy memories of being taken to, I think it was a scout hut in Chinley, where we spent a very hot day making background noises for the film, which the children absolutely adored. They thought it was great fun.
It was like a jack of all trades job, but it was brilliant fun, and we went all over the High Peak.
The politics were fascinating because there were people who loved the fact that the quarries were now rewilding. There were people who hated the fact that the quarries were making so much noise in their lives. There were people who were very grateful for the employment that the quarries had given to the area.
One of the great things was people would always go, oh, all right, then we'll give it a go, even though some of the things you were asking them to do were outside their comfort zone, if you know what I mean. Absolutely brilliant at doing that, and that was my favourite thing about it, was that people always got involved and people were very generous.
Everybody was alerted and ran out to the field to see this wonderful bonfire of absolutely everything that was made.
We had people coming from all along the route. The hub seemed to be New Mills because we were the ones that were fighting harder than anybody, and there was a walk that went along the route, and there must have been 400 or 500 people. Must have been. It was huge.
I was first attracted to High Peak Community Arts because it was promoted in a leaflet as a media arts centre, and I wanted to do more with my laptop computers in a more graphic sort of way.
So in 1996 we started a programme for disabled adults in the High Peak because social services had realised there were no day services for disabled adults in this area at all. So we worked with the Derbyshire Coalition for Inclusive Living, and we designed a project in which individual disabled people who were referred to us could choose any art form they wanted to do any day of the week, any time of day. They could work with an artist one-to-one or in a small group. They could do it at home if that suited them, or they could go to a community venue and design their own projects that were like 10 weeks. So we set up the Arts Exchange Plus and then the exchanges, and we started group projects.
We worked with clay with a tutor called Caroline Schuler. She's particularly good. And we made a clock, and the clock is now in the library in Buxton. It's really lovely. We're very, very proud of it.
We had a magazine. We actually welded some steel sculptures that are up by Fairholmes Visitor Centre near the Derwent Dam.
In Glossop in 2000, you know, when there was the Millennium Projects, there was a chap who did wicker work, sort of wicker sculpture, and he was brought in to do something in Glossop for the Millennium. 2001, 2002. It was mainly with Jill Turner. She was doing things called the Messy workshops, where she was doing workshops with children. She invited me to do some work with her on making felt. The felt making was quite appropriate because it's easy to do, it's bright. And I was very involved with the yurt. So we made a yurt. We took it around the villages around the High Peak, and we'd run workshops in it. That it was used for all sorts of different workshops.
Well, the best memories is when it was glorious weather, when we brought it to the festivals, Welly Water Weekend, Buxton Festival, One World Festival, usually days when it actually threw it down, working out how we were going to dry this thing out.
I was involved in the community play that was put on at the time called On Common Ground.
And as they trespassed, they sang.
I saw a post and I thought I'd like to get involved with that, so I went along to the first rehearsal.
Song and dance routines. You know, it was all about, you know, the history of the kingdom, and it was wonderful, and it involved all sorts of different people, and it was fantastic.
Some people said we'd achieved nothing. We'd set the course back by 20 years.
That all we'd done was walk up the hill and come back down again. But it was bigger than that. And the fight's not over yet.
And part of the play was written by the people involved, so it was quite an organic thing, and we really, really enjoyed it.
I am the land, the wild high land. My spirit sings in the wind. I am rock and I am water. I am heather and peat. I am crag and buttress and boulder, sand and shale and grit.
Well, you have to remember that 1995, nobody sent emails to you.
And we had one computer and one phone in the office, and you had to share it all out because nobody needed more than one computer to do anything.
You didn't have a website. And when we started the Multimedia Resource Centre, we opened that in 1999. We spent £6,000 on computer equipment so that you could make a film, and you can do that on your laptop, or you can do that on your phone.
You know, you had a big bank of, you know, tape recorders were like, you know, you splice things by hand and all of that. So technologically, to me, it's unbelievable now what you can do. So I think stuff like that has changed a lot.
If you're going to do a poster for an event, it was either using Letraset or doing sort of freestyle felt tip pens and, you know, bubble writing and things. You had all the alphabet letters and you sort of rubbed over them like that and it rubbed off on the page, but you had to be really neat and tidy, which I'm not.
I think a lot of people don't get much chance to work with their hands and make things. You know, there's a lot of people who are doing work which is computer related or not actually getting anything at the end of the day that they can say, I made this, and that's that finished.
Community arts has always had to struggle with a very tight budget. And within those constraints, you have to be very creative, very imaginative in the way that you work. And it's absolutely fantastic to think that here we are in 2019 and High Peak Community Arts is still going.
When Alison got the first grant to do the arts and wellbeing projects, that was 1996, I think. And she's done arts and wellbeing projects ever since then. So there's nearly 25 years worth of that.
Using the arts to support people's mental health and physical health is a growing understanding that this is a really key part of what this organisation does.
When it is funded well, it seems to have become a lot more professional. The leaders and the teams in community arts, I think, are more experienced now.
When Sophie was recruited 10 years ago, that was a slight change of direction, so we were then specifically always going to have a youth arts programme then.
What I find now is lots of projects are doing community arts, but they don't call it community arts. It'll have a new title.
But I think the fundamentals of talking to people, finding out what's relevant to them and making work that they feel proud of and feel ownership of, that hasn't changed.
Project Earth is stands for Environmental Arts and Health, and it's an arts and mental health project for adults across the High Peak. We have groups in New Mills and groups in Buxton, and the whole aim is to work collectively. People get to talk to each other, they develop friendships, they learn teamwork and different sort of skills through doing that. And we make artwork for other people, which is really important from the well-being. We make things for church halls, art centres, parks, railway stations, GP surgeries.
Like, for example, at Highley Hall, there's a human sundial, so there are ceramic plates in the grass. That was an interesting project because they enjoyed doing it individually, but put together it gives enjoyment for other people who visit the park.
My favourite is embroidery. We've done embroidery on silk, we've done embroidery for all nationalities, we've done South American embroidery, and I've loved all of that.
People get a real sense of achievement and pride in their work because it's being out there and it's seen by other people, and it gives people a really positive role in their own communities.
But we've worked with clay, we've worked with paints, we've worked with all medium really.
And they made these mugs for the 40th anniversary. They're ceramic mugs, which are very good, and they're very sturdy because we haven't broken any as yet. And there are lots of other things that they've done which are in the community.
We've got about 30 seconds to get out of here before the service overload.
So Film Cuts Club started, we tried out various different pilots with schools and with outside of schools, and the format that we have now has been running since about 2015.
Yeah, film club, make films, do storyboards, create characters, editing, green screen, all that, so yeah, pretty cool.
It's been lovely to be able to develop something over a really long time and to use the feedback and recommendations of the participants to constantly improve it. Often youth projects don't get the time investment that they deserve, I think. So.
Learn how to use a camera and how to edit on Premiere Pro.
There's that certain aspect of creative freedom.
It's just so much fun.
My first film, my personal Dalek help.
Destroy! I only went in there for a quiet read.
Which I cringe at when I watch back.
Peppy the Polar Bear. I made the characters out of plasticine. Move them a little bit and then take a picture, move them again, take a picture, and I just carry on doing that until I've got like an animation.
Well, I remember we worked with me and Joss and the guys had a laugh when we watched Zombie High.
There was Zigo.
It's called Zigo.
That looks interesting. Brains. 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 Brains.
We have a project called Creative Wellbeing where we work with Good News Family Care.
A residential centre working with homeless women and also in a drugs rehab unit. Our ladies were getting access to such things as felting projects and ceramics work.
They have a farm in the Goit Valley and they acquired a flock of sheep. So we decided to do a sheep to craft project where the women learnt all of the skills from after the shearing, how to wash and sort the fleece and to dye it and card it, and then use the fleece for wet felting, for needle felting. We learnt how to spin it into yarn and then do knitting and crochet and weaving. So a whole range of sort of craft-based skills.
Glossopoly was a board game that well, originally it was just a piece of art that I got the children from Glossopdale Community School. I got the children to design it and come up with pictures for it. Originally it was just going to be something to stick on a wall to show children's engagement in the project, but it gradually became more and more of a toolkit for working with communities, and it ended up touring around Edinburgh and Cardiff and London.
So another project that is now nice and long running, it's completely open access, performing arts, music, drama, all that sort of thing. It's based initially on the two most economically deprived estates of the district. Those young people probably don't have access to other drama clubs or performing arts clubs.
This will be my 5th year.
And then when they come together from the two estates and from other places in the High Peak as well, they come together for this 2 weeks in August.
We created performances from scratch, which included songs and acting and like background animations and stuff.
In my entry head, it was at Paul's Cabin. It was about some dude in a cave.
We are Romans! I'm a Bronze Age man.
This is it. My life destroyed. And then he didn't know what his name was, and then they tried to find his name around the cave.
I've been involved with Enchanting Gathering.
Going in the forest and creating all those unique little places like the stores. Oh yeah, that was awesome.
I come away like, say when I've wanted to do music, and then I could do them different skills that I've learned. I've learned new acting skills, made new mates, and just had a good time really.
It's been like loads of memorable moments because with both film cuts and like the Young Writers Camp in summer school, they make it as memorable as possible. I can still remember standing there in the Paul's Cabin shop singing that song before we all went into the cave. That was pretty memorable.
Meeting Georgia.
100% was, because I met my best friend.
There was that film screening as well. We all went down there and watched these fantastic films, and our films were in there as well, that was pretty cool to watch.
And one day my youngest son came home and he said, I have never been so embarrassed. I said, why, what was the matter, love? He said, you on television in that damn coat.
And I have very happy memories of it as a very inclusive, delightful project that involved me and my children and my friends and their children, and it was really good fun.
I'd persuaded all the members of New Mills Town Council to be in our play, and they wouldn't learn their lines. So at one point I told them that if they didn't learn their lines by the next day, I was going to Spain. I was leaving the show, I was going to go to Spain, and they'd all have to just get up on the stage and do it without me. I'd had enough.
It was quite funny. We ended up being in the middle of a pond in the middle of Manor Park in Glossop, and having to sort of row everybody backwards and forwards to do this project.
I've got an embarrassing memory about tin hats and telegrams. One of the main people involved, Bob Alds, said that on the last night, actors threw in comments or they went off script. And so I went off script, and then I was absolutely stuck for what to do next.
We've done 2 song projects with Project Earth with Claire Mooney, the musician, who's absolutely fantastic. And the laughter that's come out of those sessions has been amazing. And one of the participants really wanted us to have handbells. So we were going to have this in one of the verses for the songs. All we needed to go was ding dong, you know, on the bar, on the beat, 4 beats in the bar. But could people do it? No. Just everyone was just rolling around laughing, and it was really good. One of those incidents where everyone had a good laugh as well as creating a wonderful song.
I think it's really helped my confidence a lot. I used to be dead shy, but coming here I've gained a lot more confidence with my writing and things that I can do.
I think maybe my writing's improved somewhat because of Andy.
It actually prompted me to take creative media in college.
I think it's helped with my acting as well, because I'm going into like drama at college, and like if I didn't have this, I wouldn't have known that I loved it so much.
I was at a stage with my mental health, I was quite ill, and I was going in and out of hospital, and it was like a vicious circle that was going round and round. When I got introduced, it broke that cycle. It gave me an insight into what I was capable of with people that had gone through the same kind of things. It's a safe place for us to be because we didn't have to be anything that we weren't.
It really does improve people's well-being in lots of different ways. I think it's through being creative, through having fun, through learning different skills all the time, through meeting other people, developing really strong friendships as well.
Working on a particular felting project right near the beginning with a lady who had been homeless for decades. She'd never done anything creative in her life, and she sat with somebody and created a piece of felt work that was amazing, absolutely amazing. And as the weeks progressed and she saw her own creativity coming to life and the self-esteem boost that gave her from what people were saying, but also from the process of doing it, and she was transformed.
When I came here, I was very young and I was just learning how to do things. And eventually I went back, because I'm from Northern Ireland, and I went back and worked with the frontline communities in Northern Ireland.
I think it's led me into a more artistic life, because I feel like I can go out there a bit more and be myself a bit more.
I've got better social skills. Right. I can talk to people now.
The great thing about it is you work with a young person for X number of years, and then there are moments and times when they make a big step, and you think that you see them do something that you think a year ago that young person would never have done that, and like I say, it gives you passion for the job, doesn't it?
That sense of people feeling pride and ownership in what they've achieved, that's just a highlight every time it happens.
That it made me think really deeply about a topic and try and put it into words. It kind of really made you focus on an idea and explore the idea in some depth, to crystallise an experience. That's what it did.
The fun of community arts and how it can involve people of all ages. And it could be a family thing, and it can involve children and everybody, really.
You know, it's really important for people to be able to get together on things and to work things out together.
For the Brown Root opposition campaign, it gave people a purpose. With the Youth 600 thing, it gave people confidence. From that, we actually did a play. We had such fun. We had so much fun.
So I've been a trustee for the last 4 years. I knew pretty much instantly that was something that I wanted to do, because I was seeing the impact that the work was having on the ladies I was working with.
It's an amazing organisation. I've never actually come across an organisation like this anywhere in the country before. It does brilliant work for all kinds of people. We've spoken to people and they say it's actually changed their life going along to an art project or being involved in something at school.
My confidence soared because up until that point I wasn't confident in the skills that I had. Working with High Peak Community Arts, I was encouraged to do things and be the lead in things at the Thursday Club, with the play and other things. So it gave me the confidence that I'd got skills that were useful and that were things that people would get something from.
Well, it's just given me like over 30 years of really enjoyable work. I mean, yes, at times it's sort of stressful, But on the whole, it's just very rewarding because you just get to be creative, be mixed with wonderful people, just see people grow, see people develop. And yeah, I couldn't think of and in a beautiful environment. We're in the High Peak, so it's just, yeah, the job's been really wonderful.
Keep at it. It's hard, I think, especially now when sometimes it can be very dispiriting. You can be looking to try and get some support for what you're doing or funding for what you're doing, and it can be very difficult. And I would just say keep going, keep at it, and find allies.
Well, it was a really worthwhile thing to do. How many jobs are there out there in to be done that are really worthwhile? Yeah.
I still get people coming up to me who were involved in those projects, still talking about them as highlights of their life.
Yeah, we've wandered in and out of each other's lives for 40 years, near enough.